Imagine an island in the midst of a shimmering blue sea, where colossal palaces rose not to fend off enemies, but to embrace the beauty of life. This is Crete, the heart of the Minoan civilization, a Bronze Age empire that dominated the Aegean from roughly 3000 to 1450 BCE before vanishing into the shadows of history. The Minoans, named after the legendary king Minos, were not mere island dwellers. They were artists, traders, and architects of an advanced world where art and commerce wove a symphony of mystery. Crete, strategically positioned at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa, became the hub of a vast trade network, connecting with the mighty Egypt, the thriving Near East, and perhaps even inspiring Plato's myth of Atlantis, a utopian society, rich and radiant, yet ultimately swallowed by the sea. Picture yourself stepping into Knossos, their grandest palace, where walls needed no defensive ramparts, because the Minoans' strength lay in the sea, not in swords. These palaces, Knossos, Phaistos, Malea, were architectural marvels, boasting intricate plumbing, modern bathrooms, and vibrant frescoes depicting a life full of vitality. Young men leaping over bullhorns, maidens holding flowers, and the boundless sea with ships laden with goods. There are no signs of war or violence. Instead, a peaceful society emerges where women likely played central roles, perhaps reflecting a matriarchal system or a religion venerating goddesses. Their art, from exquisite pottery to enigmatic snake goddess figurines, radiates joy, a connection to nature, sea, animals, trees, and a sophistication that Europe wouldn't match for millennia. Yet, behind this splendor lies a profound secret. They left behind a written language, Linear A, etched onto clay tablets, seals, and ritual offerings, but no key to unlock it. Linear A, with its simple, linear symbols scratched into soft clay, is the silent voice of a lost empire. Unlike Linear B, deciphered in the 1950s by Michael Ventris as an early form of Greek, Linear A remains an enigma, possibly encoding a language unrelated to Indo-European, a linguistic isolate from prehistory. This mystery is not just about writing. It's the key to understanding a culture that profoundly influenced ancient Greece, from the Minotaur myth to art and trade. Why did such an advanced society build no defensive walls? How did they dominate the Aegean as a thalassocracy, a sea empire without warfare? And Linear A, with some 1,500 surviving inscriptions, promises answers if only we could hear its whispers. Think of Arthur Evans, the British archaeologist who unearthed Knossos in the early 20th century, standing before those clay tablets, feeling the weight of history. He called them linear, for their straight-line simplicity, distinct from Egyptian hieroglyphs, but he couldn't read them. Today, with modern technology, we're inching closer, but the journey begins with understanding this lost world. The Minoans were not just their palaces, they were fearless sailors carrying copper, ivory, and spices across the seas, exchanging ideas with Egyptian pharaohs and Hittite kingdoms. Their culture, shaped by these connections, produced masterpieces like the Phaistos disc, with its spiral symbols, perhaps an early form of printing. And through it all, Linear A stands as a challenge, a language silent for millennia, waiting for someone to awaken it. But are we ready to hear the secrets it might reveal? About a society where women may have been religious leaders, where trade trumped war, and where art was the language of the soul? As we dig deeper, prepare for surprises. From frescoes depicting bull-leaping festivals, a dangerous yet sacred ritual, to a complex economy recorded in Linear A, the Minoans remind us that history is not a straight line. It's a labyrinth, like the Palace of Minos. And Linear A is the thread of Ariadne, guiding us through that maze. But first, we must confront the mystery itself. What is Linear A, and why does it still resist every attempt at decipherment? The sun sets over Crete, casting a golden glow on the ruins of Knossos, where silent clay tablets lie buried, their cryptic symbols whispering secrets of a lost world. These are the inscriptions of Linear A, the enigmatic script of the Minoan civilization, a writing system that has defied scholars for over a century. Unlike the grand frescoes or intricate pottery that speak vividly of Minoan life, Linear A is a puzzle. Its elegant, linear strokes etched into clay tablets, stone seals, and ritual offerings. Each mark is a tantalizing clue to a society that thrived over 4,000 years ago, yet their meaning remains just beyond our grasp. To understand the challenge of Linear A, we must first explore its nature, how it differs from its deciphered cousin, Linear B, and why it holds the key to unlocking the Minoan soul. Linear A is a syllabic script, a system where each symbol represents a syllable or sound, often combined with ideographic signs, pictures standing for ideas or objects. Found on clay tablets at sites like Knossos, Phaistos, and Zakros, these inscriptions likely recorded the pulse of Minoan society. Inventories of grain, wine, and olive oil. Lists of offerings to deities, perhaps even prayers or names of priestesses. Picture a scribe in the palace of Phaistos, carefully pressing a stylus into soft clay, recording the shipment of saffron to a distant port or the tribute offered to a goddess with serpents coiled around her arms. The script's simplicity, clean lines forming signs like triangles, crosses, or stylized animals, belies its complexity. With roughly 70 to 100 distinct symbols, Linear A is compact yet versatile, designed for efficiency in a bustling, trade-driven world. But unlike Linear B, which emerged later and was decoded in 1952 by Michael Ventris as an early form of Greek, Linear A guards its secrets fiercely. Its underlying language is unknown, possibly a linguistic isolate, unrelated to Greek, Hittite, or any known tongue, a remnant of a pre-Indo-European Mediterranean. The contrast with Linear B is stark. Discovered in the same palaces, Linear B was used by the Mycenaeans, who succeeded the Minoans around 1450 BCE. When Ventris, a brilliant architect turned decipherer, cracked Linear B, he revealed it as a script for Mycenaean Greek, used to track taxes, tributes, and palace resources. The breakthrough came from recognizing patterns and comparing text to known languages. Linear B tablets, often baked hard by fires that destroyed Minoan palaces, offered enough material to make sense of their structure. Linear A, however, is a different beast. Its inscriptions are fewer. About 1/100 survive, many short or fragmentary, and lack the bilingual Rosetta Stone that aided other ancient scripts, like Egyptian hieroglyphs. Without a clear linguistic anchor, scholars can only guess at the sounds or meanings behind the symbols. Is that triangle a syllable like pa, or a word for wheat? Does the sign resembling a cat's head mean offering or something else entirely? The answers remain elusive. The tablets themselves paint a vivid picture of Minoan life, even if their words are silent. At Knossos, archaeologists uncovered tablets listing quantities of livestock, perhaps for a festival or trade. In Phaistos, a famous disc covered in spiral symbols, possibly a ritual text or an early form of printed script, hints at the Minoans' ingenuity. At Zakros, a coastal site, inscriptions on seals suggest maritime commerce, with goods flowing to and from Egypt's pharaohs or Anatolia's kings. These artifacts reveal a society of peace and prosperity, where trade, not conquest, defined power. Women, often depicted in art as priestesses or deities, likely played a central role, their names or titles perhaps etched in Linear A. Imagine a Minoan priestess, her robes adorned with saffron-dyed threads, recording offerings to a goddess on a tablet, her script capturing a moment of devotion that we can see but not yet hear. This silence is what makes Linear A so haunting. It's as if the Minoans are speaking directly to us, but in a language we've forgotten. The initial attempts to crack Linear A began with Arthur Evans, who excavated Knossos in the early 1900s. He recognized two scripts, Linear A and Linear B, and cataloged their symbols, but his efforts to decipher Linear A stalled. He speculated it might encode a non-Greek language, perhaps tied to the mysterious Eteocratan people, who lingered on Crete after the Minoan collapse. Later scholars tried linking Linear A to known languages, Semitic, Luwian, or even early Greek, but none fit. The signs don't align neatly with any familiar linguistic family, and the lack of a bilingual text, like the Rosetta Stone that unlocked Egyptian hieroglyphs, leaves researchers grasping at shadows. Some tablets show numbers, suggesting administrative records, but without the language, we can only guess at their context. Were they tax records, religious offerings, love poems? The frustration is palpable, like standing before a locked door with no key. Yet, this mystery fuels our curiosity. Linear A is more than a script. It's a window into a society that defied the norms of its time. Unlike the warlike empires of Mesopotamia or the fortified cities of Mycenae, the Minoans built open palaces, trusting the sea to protect them. Their inscriptions, found in sacred caves or palace archives, suggest a culture where writing served both the mundane and the divine. The challenge of Linear A is not just linguistic, it's cultural. To decode it, we must imagine a world where art and trade were sacred, where a script could capture both a merchant's ledger and a priestess's prayer. As we stand on the cusp of new discoveries, the question looms: what tools and insights might finally break the silence of Linear A, and what will it tell us about the Minoans' lost world? The wind sweeps across the ruins of Knossos, stirring dust over the ancient clay tablets that hold the secrets of Linear A. For over a century, these cryptic symbols have taunted scholars, their meaning locked in a code that resists every attempt at unraveling. The Minoans, with their vibrant frescoes and seafaring prowess, left behind a script that is both a treasure and a torment, a tantalizing glimpse into a civilization that flourished over 4,000 years ago, yet a puzzle that remains unsolved. To understand why Linear A continues to elude us, we must dive into the formidable challenges of decipherment, the early efforts of determined scholars, and the academic obstacles that have kept this ancient language silent, even as it whispers of a world we long to know. The greatest hurdle in decoding Linear A is the absence of a bilingual text, a Rosetta Stone like the one that cracked Egyptian hieroglyphs by offering parallel inscriptions in Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphic scripts. Without such a key, scholars are left to grapple with a script whose underlying language is a mystery. Linear A, with its 70 to 100 syllabic and ideographic signs, might encode a language utterly unlike any we know. A linguistic isolate, perhaps a relic of pre-Indo-European peoples who roamed the Mediterranean before the rise of Greek or Hittite tongues. Imagine trying to read a book in a language no one speaks, with no dictionary, no grammar guide, and no living speakers to consult. This is the enigma of Linear A script that could describe the Minoans' trade deals, religious rites, or even their myths, but whose words remain a cipher. Compounding the challenge is the scarcity of material. Only about 1,500 Linear A inscriptions survive, scattered across clay tablets, seals, and ritual objects found at sites like Knossos, Paistos, and Malea. Many are frustratingly short, some just a few symbols long, or damaged by time, fire, or the collapse of Minoan palaces. Compare this to Linear B, where thousands of tablets provided enough data for Michael Ventris to detect patterns and confirm its Greek roots. Linear A's limited corpus is like a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing, each fragment a tantalizing hint of a larger picture. A tablet from Zakros might list quantities of olive oil, but without knowing the language, we can't be sure if it records a merchant's inventory, a tax payment, or an offering to a deity. This scarcity forces scholars to rely on context, archaeological clues from the tablet's surroundings, but even that is a faint guide in a culture we barely understand. Early attempts to decipher Linear A began with Arthur Evans, the British archaeologist who unearthed Knossos in the early 1900s and first identified the script. Evans meticulously cataloged Linear A's symbols, distinguishing them from Linear B and the earlier Cretan hieroglyphs. He suspected Linear A encoded a non-Greek language, perhaps tied to the Ediocratan people, descendants of the Minoans who survived into classical times. But his efforts stalled, lacking the tools or data to go further. In the decades that followed, scholars tried to link Linear A to known languages: Semitic, like Phoenician, Anatolian, like Luwian, or even early Greek. Each hypothesis crumbled under scrutiny. The symbols didn't match the phonetic patterns of these languages, and attempts to force a fit often led to dead ends. For instance, A 1960s theory proposed Linear A as a Semitic language based on similarities to Akkadian scripts, but the connections were too tenuous to hold. Another scholar suggested it might be an early Indo-European tongue, but the signs resisted alignment with any known linguistic family. The academic world itself posed obstacles. Decipherment is a field where passion often outpaces consensus. Scholars, driven by the allure of solving an ancient mystery, pursued competing methods. Some focused on statistical analysis of symbol frequency, others on comparing Linear A to scripts from Anatolia or Egypt. Disagreements over methodology slowed progress, as did the cultural gap between modern researchers and the Minoan worldview. The Minoans were not a warlike people. Their art and architecture suggest a society centered on trade, art, and ritual, possibly led by women in religious roles. Without understanding their values, perhaps a reverence for nature or a matriarchal structure, scholars struggle to interpret the context of the inscriptions. Was a tablet from Malaya a record of grain for a festival or a contract for trade with Egypt? The lack of cultural clarity makes every guess a leap into the unknown. The frustration of these efforts is almost palpable. Picture a scholar in the 1920s, hunched over a dimly lit desk, surrounded by plaster casts of Linear A tablets, tracing symbols that refuse to yield. Or imagine a linguist in the 1970s, painstakingly comparing Linear A signs to Linear B, only to find the patterns don't align. These researchers weren't just wrestling with a script. They were grappling with the silence of a civilization that seemed so close, yet so far. Some progress was made. Numerals in Linear A were identified, hinting at accounting systems, and certain signs appeared frequently, suggesting common words like total or offering. But without the language, these are mere echoes of meaning. The story of Linear A is one of human persistence pitted against an ancient riddle, a testament to our desire to reclaim a lost voice. Yet, amidst this struggle, a spark of hope emerged. The 21st century brought new tools, computers, algorithms, and a global network of scholars that began to chip away at the mystery. In 2024, a team using AI to analyze symbol patterns reported tentative matches with phonetic structures, hinting at a breakthrough. At Knossos, a newly discovered tablet in 2025, one of the longest Linear A inscriptions ever found, offered fresh data to fuel these efforts. These advances, though incremental, suggest that the silence of Linear A may not last forever. But what new methods and discoveries are driving this progress? And how close are we to hearing the Minoans speak again? As the sun rises over Crete, its rays illuminate the weathered stones of Knossos, where the silent symbols of Linear A seem to pulse with new possibility. For over a century, this ancient script has guarded the secrets of the Minoan civilization, its syllabic signs and ideograms defying every attempt at decipherment. But now, in the shadow of those grand palaces, a revolution is unfolding. Modern technology, interdisciplinary collaboration, and recent archaeological discoveries are bringing us closer than ever to cracking the code of Linear A. From artificial intelligence to newly unearthed inscriptions, the tools of the 21st century are breathing life into a language silent for millennia, offering tantalizing glimpses into the world of a lost empire. The journey to decode Linear A is no longer a solitary quest. It's a global effort, fueled by innovation and the relentless pursuit of truth. The turning point came with the advent of computational linguistics and artificial intelligence. In 2024, researchers at institutions like the TEI of Crete and international universities began applying AI to Linear A, using algorithms to analyze patterns in its 70 to 100 symbols. Unlike earlier scholars who relied on manual comparisons, these teams employed machine learning to detect recurring sequences, suggesting possible syllabic structures or word boundaries. Picture a computer sifting through thousands of symbol combinations, identifying that a sign resembling a wheat stalk often appears with numerals, perhaps indicating grain or harvest. In one breakthrough, a 2024 study used a brute force approach, testing millions of linguistic permutations to propose that certain Linear A signs align with phonetic patterns found in pre-Indo-European languages. While not a full decipherment, this marked a leap forward, transforming Linear A from a random puzzle into a structured challenge. Archaeological discoveries have added fuel to this fire. In 2025, excavators at Knossos unearthed a remarkable find, a clay tablet bearing one of the longest linear A inscriptions ever discovered, spanning over 200 signs. Unlike the short, fragmented text that frustrated earlier scholars, this tablet offers a wealth of data, potentially recording a detailed administrative record or religious text. Found in a palace archive, it hints at the Minoans' bureaucratic sophistication, perhaps a ledger of trade with Egypt or a list of offerings to a goddess. Other recent finds, like inscribed seals from Zakros in 2023, reveal new symbols and contexts, suggesting maritime commerce or ritual practices. These discoveries expand the corpus of Linear A, giving researchers more pieces of the puzzle to work with. Each new inscription is like a whisper from the past, urging us to listen closer. Cross-cultural comparisons are also shedding light. Scholars have begun examining similarities between Linear A and other ancient scripts, such as those from Anatolia or Egypt, to infer possible influences. For instance, a 2024 study noted that certain Linear A signs resemble symbols in the Luwian script used in ancient Turkey, hinting at trade-driven linguistic exchange. While not definitive, these comparisons suggest that the Minoans' language might share roots with pre-Greek tongues spoken in the Aegean. Meanwhile, statistical analysis has revealed that Linear A's syllabary likely consists of 70 to 90 core signs, with some functioning as logograms, symbols for whole words like wine or offering. By mapping these patterns, researchers have tentatively identified terms like ku-ro, possibly meaning total, a clue borrowed from Linear B but applied cautiously to its predecessor. These findings, though partial, paint a picture of a script designed for both practicality and reverence, capturing the Minoans' daily life and sacred rituals. Collaboration has been key to these advances. Unlike the solitary efforts of past decades, today's researchers work in global networks, combining linguistics, archaeology, and computer science. Projects like the Digital Linear A Initiative, launched in 2023, have created open access databases, allowing scholars worldwide to study high-resolution images of inscriptions. Crowdsourcing has even played a role, with linguists and enthusiasts contributing to pattern recognition through online platforms. Imagine a young researcher in Athens, a programmer in California, and an archaeologist in Crete, all pooling their expertise to tackle a single tablet. This interdisciplinary approach has turned Linear A from an insurmountable enigma into a shared mission, with each discovery building on the last. In 2025, a conference in Heraklion brought together experts who proposed that Linear A might encode a language related to an ancient Aegean dialect, a theory bolstered by AI-driven phonetic reconstructions. Yet these breakthroughs come with a sense of awe and humility. Each step forward reveals how much we still don't know. The 2025 Knossos tablet, for example, includes sequences never seen before, raising new questions about regional variations in Linear A. Some scholars argue it might reflect a dialect spoken only at Knossos, while others see it as evidence of a more complex writing system than previously thought. The AI models, while powerful, are not infallible. They rely on human interpretation to turn patterns into meaning. Still, the progress is undeniable. Where once we saw only cryptic lines, we now see the outlines of a language, a system that recorded the Minoans' trade in saffron and copper, their offerings to deities, their lives woven into the fabric of a sea empire. The question now is not just whether we can decode Linear A, but what it will reveal when we do. Imagine the moment when the first full sentence in Linear A is read aloud. A prayer to a goddess, a contract for a shipment of wine, or a poet's ode to the sea. That moment feels closer than ever, thanks to technology and tenacity. But as we stand on this threshold, we must ask, what secrets will Linear A unveil about the Minoan society, their beliefs, and their place in the ancient world? The answers lie just beyond the horizon, waiting to be discovered. The waves crash against the shores of Crete, echoing the rhythm of a civilization that once ruled the Aegean with grace and ingenuity. The Minoans, with their vibrant art and open palaces, left behind a legacy etched in Linear A, a script that holds the promise of unlocking their world. As we stand on the cusp of deciphering this enigmatic language, the question burns brighter than ever. What will Linear A reveal about the Minoan society, their beliefs, and their influence on the ancient world? From their bustling trade networks to their mysterious rituals, the secrets encoded in these ancient symbols could rewrite our understanding of a lost empire and its enduring impact on the Mediterranean. The stakes are high, for Linear A is not just a script, it's a time capsule, waiting to breathe life into a civilization silenced for millennia. If we could read Linear A, we might glimpse the inner workings of Minoan society. Their economy, for instance, was a marvel of its time, as a thalassocracy, a sea imperio system, empire. They dominated Aegean trade, connecting Crete with Egypt, the Near East, and Mycenaean Greece. Linear A tablets, often found in palace archives, likely recorded these transactions. Shipments of saffron, olive oil, or copper, meticulously tallied by scribes. A deciphered tablet from Knossos could reveal the scale of their maritime empire, detailing trade routes that stretched from the Nile Delta to Anatolia. Imagine a record listing goods exchanged with an Egyptian pharaoh, perhaps linen for Minoan wine, or a log of tributes from distant islands, painting a picture of a prosperous, interconnected world. Such records would confirm the Minoans as master traders, their wealth built on diplomacy and commerce rather than conquest, a rarity in the Bronze Age. Beyond economics, Linear A could illuminate the Minoans' spiritual life. Their art is filled with images of priestesses, bull-leaping rituals, and the iconic snake goddess figurines, suggesting a religion centered on female deities and nature. Inscriptions found in sacred caves or on ritual vessels might contain prayers, hymns, or dedications, offering insight into their beliefs. Were the Minoans matriarchal, with women leading religious ceremonies? Did they worship a great goddess of the sea, as their maritime culture might suggest? A translated Linear A text could reveal the names of these deities or the details of ceremonies, like the bull leaping depicted in their frescoes, a dangerous rite blending athleticism and spirituality. Such discoveries would bring us closer to understanding a society where art and ritual were intertwined, where the sacred was woven into daily life. The social structure of the Minoans, another mystery, might also come into focus. The absence of fortified walls and weapons in their palaces suggests a peaceful society, but who led them? Linear A tablets could name rulers, administrators, or priestesses, revealing whether their society was egalitarian, hierarchical, or something else entirely. A 2025 find at Malea, a clay tablet with what appears to be a list of names, might hold titles or roles, perhaps a council of women, a merchant guild, or a family lineage. This could challenge our assumptions about Bronze Age societies, often dominated by warrior kings, and highlight the Minoans' unique blend of art, trade, and spirituality. Their palaces, with communal courtyards and no defensive barriers, suggest a society that valued openness and trust, a stark contrast to the militarized Mycenaeans who later overtook them. The broader implications of decoding Linear A extend far beyond Crete. The Minoans were a cultural crossroads, their art and technology influencing early Greece and beyond. Their frescoes, with vivid depictions of nature and ritual, prefigure Greek mythology. Think of the Minotaur, born from Minoan bull worship, or Ariadne, a Cretan princess in Greek legend. Deciphered Linear A text could reveal direct links, perhaps showing how Minoan religious terms or trade practices shaped Mycenaean culture. They might also clarify the Minoans' interactions with Egypt, evidenced by Minoan-style frescoes found in Avaris, or with the Hittites, whose cuneiform records mention trade with a people called Kaptara, likely Crete. These connections would position the Minoans as a pivotal force in the ancient Mediterranean, a bridge between East and West. Yet, the promise of Linear A comes with a poignant sense of loss. The Minoan civilization collapsed around 1450 BCE, possibly due to the catastrophic eruption of Thera, modern Santorini, which triggered tsunamis and climate disruptions, or invasions by the Mycenaeans. Linear A texts could shed light on this decline. Perhaps a tablet records a plea for aid, a tally of failing harvests, or a shift in power. The 2025 Knossos tablet, one of the longest known, might hold such clues, its dense rows of symbols a potential chronicle of their final days. Decoding it could reveal not just the Minoans' triumphs, but their struggles, humanizing a people who seem almost mythical in their sophistication and peacefulness. The emotional weight of this quest is profound. To read Linear A would be to give voice to a people who left behind palaces, art, and a script, but no history in their own words. It would restore their story, revealing their joys, their fears, their way of life. Imagine a translated text describing a festival at Phaistos, with dancers and musicians under a starry sky, or a merchant's log detailing a voyage to Egypt, the crew battling storms to deliver their cargo. These are not just historical facts. They are human stories, preserved in clay for 4,000 years, waiting to be heard. The Minoans' influence lingers in the Greek myths and art that followed, but their own voice, encoded in Linear A, remains silent. As we inch closer to breaking that silence, we stand to rediscover a civilization that shaped the ancient world, a legacy that resonates across time. The Mediterranean sun dips below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the ancient stones of Crete, where the echoes of the Minoan civilization still linger. For over 4,000 years, their script, Linear A, has held their secrets in a silent embrace, its cryptic symbols a testament to a lost world of art, trade, and ritual. Yet, as we stand at the threshold of deciphering this enigmatic language, the journey to unlock Linear A is far from over. It is a tale of persistence, innovation, and the unyielding human drive to reclaim a forgotten past. From the dusty archives of Knossos to the cutting-edge labs of the 21st century, the quest to decode Linear A is a bridge between ancient and modern, a reminder that even the most elusive mysteries can yield to our curiosity. What lies ahead in this endeavor, and why does it matter so deeply to us today? The journey to decipher Linear A is ongoing, fueled by a global network of scholars, archaeologists, and technologists. Projects like the Digital Linear A initiative, expanded in 2025, have digitized thousands of inscriptions, making them accessible to researchers worldwide. High-resolution scans of tablets from Knossos, Phaistos, and Zakros allow linguists to zoom in on every stroke, while AI algorithms analyze patterns at a scale unimaginable to Arthur Evans a century ago. In 2024, a team at the University of Bologna used machine learning to propose that Linear A's syllabary might share roots with an ancient Aegean dialect, a hypothesis gaining traction as new inscriptions emerge. The 2025 discovery of a 200-sign tablet at Knossos, one of the longest ever found, has injected fresh hope, offering a trove of data to test these theories. Yet, the challenge remains daunting. The limited corpus of 1,500 inscriptions, the unknown language, and the cultural gap between us and the Minoans demand more discoveries, more collaboration, and more time. The future of Linear A decipherment hinges on technology and persistence. Advances in AI, particularly in 2024 and 2025, have shown promise in mapping symbol frequencies and suggesting phonetic values, but they require human insight to translate patterns into meaning. Imagine a breakthrough where a single word, perhaps goddess or sea, is confirmed, unlocking a cascade of translations. New archaeological finds could tip the balance, as sites like Malia and Zakros continue to yield inscriptions. A 2023 seal from Zakros, inscribed with what might be a prayer, hints at ritual contexts that could guide linguistic analysis. International efforts like the 2025 Heraklion Conference are fostering consensus on methodologies, moving away from the fragmented approaches of the past. But the Holy Grail, a bilingual text like the Rosetta Stone, remains elusive, and without it, scholars must rely on ingenuity and patience. Why does this matter? Decoding Linear A is more than a linguistic puzzle. It's a quest to restore the voice of a civilization that shaped the ancient world. The Minoans, with their open palaces and vibrant art, were a beacon of peace and creativity in a Bronze Age often defined by war. Their script could reveal their economy, how they traded saffron and copper across the Aegean, or their religion, perhaps naming the snake goddess who looms large in their art. It might tell us of their final days before the Thera eruption or Mycenaean invasions erased their world. To read Linear A would be to hear the Minoans speak, in their own words, about their festivals, their voyages, their lives. It would humanize a people who left behind masterpieces but no history, connecting us to a society that danced with bulls, sailed the seas, and revered the divine feminine. This quest resonates beyond academia. It reflects humanity's drive to uncover the past, to make sense of who we are by understanding who came before. The Minoans' legacy lives in Greek mythology, the Minotaur, Ariadne, the Labyrinth, and in the roots of Western art and culture. Decoding Linear A could reveal how they influenced Greece, Egypt, and beyond, rewriting the story of the ancient Mediterranean. It's a reminder that even the most advanced societies can vanish, leaving only fragments for us to piece together. The frustration of Linear A's silence, like the thrill of its potential, mirrors our own search for meaning in a complex world. Each new discovery, each tentative translation, is a step toward reclaiming that lost voice, a triumph of human curiosity over the silence of time. As we look to the future, the call is clear. Follow the research, support the scholars, and marvel at the mystery. Visit Crete, walk the halls of Knossos, and imagine the scribes who etched Linear A into clay, their hands shaping a language we may soon understand. Explore online archives, join the global effort, or simply pause to reflect on a civilization that thrived without walls, trusting the sea and their art to protect them. The Minoans remind us that history is not just a record of wars and kings, but of beauty, trade, and resilience. Linear A is their final gift, a challenge to keep searching, to keep listening, to keep dreaming of a world we've lost but can still rediscover. The thread of Ariadne is in our hands. Let's follow it through the labyrinth.